It's a little bit like in the film Avatar, when they plug in this kind of their tail into the earth.
Yes.
You can suddenly not just hear humanity or a town or a city but all of humanity. The same with all of animals or all of the plants. You suddenly realise that you are one with everything, and intuition takes you to a point where you can fully hear it. Now, people study this and do this in their own space and their own meditation, and they do it inwardly. I found a way to do it with people.
Okay.
And for me, the reason why I think that's so valuable is because we are all going to die unless we fix this. And maybe that's great, I don't know. But I'd like to stop making other things and other species extinct. I would like to stop killing each other. I would like to stop ruining the planet. I would like to stop all of these things, and the sooner the better. And for me, the only way to do this, because I don't believe that real self-development is sustainable without community. And so for me to be able to link to other people and be in community, I mean, it scares the hell out of governments, that's for sure.
Sure.
You know, I mean, there's a internet radio station called Pandora. I love it in the States. And
was that before or after Avatar?
This is after Avatar, before Avatar. It's all going that way.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because Pandora had all of these listeners, and then they decided, I think it was something along the lines of putting up tax on the to pay the artists for the music, which was basically going to make Pandora go bust. So they all got very sad about it, and then they said, well, tell you what, let's send out an email to all our subscribers. So they sent out an email to all their subscribers asking them to send a letter to Congress or to send a letter to their local government or whatever. They had more phone calls, emails and complaints than they did about the Iraq war.
Wow.
That's frightening on one level anyway.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show me that literally the government was begging Pandora to make it stop. So what I think is interesting is that when people come together and work together, then we can create sustainable change and actually really and hopefully get to the tipping point which will lead to consciousness shifting. And I think that it's vital to get to that point of creating that kind of sustainable change in the way that we think. But, you know, the truth is, we're frightened of each other and we don't want to join together. You know, when the electricity goes off, it's the first time you talk to your neighbour to see if they've got a candle, or the first time they talk to you. And so, unfortunately, we really don't want to join together because we detest each other's egos. And so, really...
Which is why it takes a crisis to bring us together, is that right? Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
So, we don't feel safe to enter into community. To me, the only way to feel safe enough to enter into community is through intuition. So to me, intuition is the only link that we really have got to be able to open up to people safely, to open your heart safely, so that somebody's ego isn't going to come crashing into your heart centre with a brick. It's the only way we can do it, is to use intuition, for me, because otherwise we'll stay at the point where we open up to God in our bedroom and we don't open up to each other, and then we don't seek each other or enlightenment through each other. And to me, that's a shame. That would be a total waste. And also, it won't create change, or sustainable change anyway.
I think it's, if I may say so, Becky, it's because I do a workshop called Living in the Heart, and part of that is actually to get people through physical, emotional, spiritual and other things to, in a sense, open up their heart, both in a sense physically and metaphorically. The physically doesn't matter, it's all metaphor ultimately.
Yeah.
But it's getting in touch with that place and what I call bypassing the mind, if you like. Getting to that place which is, you know, what you might call the real you, or the real us, the real me. And I know that's a judgment, but bear with me. But do you have a sort of practical way of how you do this, maybe for yourself or teach others? I mean, is this something you can share with us?
First of all, when you first start being able to develop this, it takes an awful lot of questioning and feeling where things are coming from. And,
right.
But the first thing is, and it's going to sound kind of crazy, dancing.
Wow, I love dancing.
Dancing is just brilliant, because we spend most of our times up here and not in the body. And it is actually in the body where you feel the multiple ways of knowing is completely somatic. It's really in the body. But it's different for each person. Some people feel it in the body. Some people almost get like a little tickle behind the ear. Like some people will feel it in an energetic way. Some people will feel it because they suddenly become really hungry. You know, we will feel it in many, many different ways. So for me is, first of all, find the way in which you can tell the difference between your ego intuition, you know, so that where you feel that. So most people will feel that.
So there is an ego intuition. That's not a...
Yes. So
I've always understood them to be sort of slightly different, but
yeah.
there is a coming together. I see.
Yeah. So it's basically a difference between reading someone through fear or reading someone through love. That's probably the easiest way of putting it.
Okay.
So trying to be able to differentiate how you read people. So most people, if they're feeling it in their body and they're feeling it through fear, there'll be something going on behind the solar plexus and the sacral chakra. It's your gut instincts. So there'll be something going on there, which is, and you'll know you're being fear-based. You'll know that there's something fear-based going on. The intuition that you feel when it's love feels expansive. It doesn't feel limited in any way. So in other words, then you know if you're reading someone and you're reading them lovingly is because you feel like you've expanded to the size of the room and way beyond that person. So everything feels completely expansive and you feel at one with everything. So it's just recognising the two ways in which you're communicating. And the best way for me, I find, to get to that level where you are being expansive, depending on if you can enjoy dancing, is ecstatic dance, is putting on music
so
and
like
dancing.
dance, stuff like that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, 5 rhythms is really great to take you through the whole remit of the wave. Anything to do with movement really helps. But then if you're not that kind of person, then it might be meditation for you, and you might need to sit in the quiet and visualise yourself expanding and visualise your aura getting to that point and visualise that you're becoming one with everything. And it might just be that. But you get to a point where, and it's wonderful, someone triggers you. You know, somebody says something and you're like, I'm being triggered now. And you can take a moment, literally, within a second to almost go, okay, well, it's my ego that's being triggered. Where is that stemming from? And then you realise it's probably got nothing to do with what the person's doing. But you can also use your intuition to say, okay, where are they coming from and why they're triggering me? And you can read whether or not they're coming from an ego where they really wanted to trigger you, or whether or not they're coming from a different level of consciousness and it's just stupid and they just said something and they didn't realise the effect that it would have on you, which stops a heck of a lot of arguments and really helps relationship. Because, I mean, for a relationship, this is so fundamental because you're really then starting to love your partner without the voice in your head. And that was something I found with my clients over and over again, was that they were always looking at their partner with a magnifying glass, analysing everything, and not really picking up the mirror and thinking about why they were being triggered by their partner. But they would come and go, is this the right person for me? And it's like, well, let's feel where your emotions are. And one way I would get to do it is I'd say, okay, close your eyes. I'm going to evaporate him, so you're never going to see him again. And I always say him because a lot of my clients are female. You know, depends what they've done. So I'd say, I'm going to evaporate him. How do you feel in your body? And they go, oh no, devastated. And you'd be like, right. So none of these facts about the dustbin, the washing up, the, you know, what your mother-in-law is like, none of these facts are actually really relevant. These are something else. And let's look at where these symptoms are coming from a disease. And then you can look at where it's coming from inside of them, and it could be coming from the fact that when they were a child, they always looked at their mother and was like, my mother's unhappy, and looked at their father, and it was, because, you know, their relationship wasn't working, and they're analysing their partner because they don't want to end up like their mother. And then you've triggered what the disease was, and the symptoms dissolve.